It's Dragon Ball time! Hello, welcome to another figure review. Today we're going to have a look at the SH Figuarts Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta figure from Dragon Ball GT, which is a tough one, right? GT, now not really canon anymore ever since Super, and not really that fondly remembered by some people, but some people like it. But the main thing that always stood out for me is Super Saiyan 4. I think it's a great transformation. It looks kind of weird with all the red fur, but it makes sense. It makes the Saiyans kind of go back to their origins with the Great Ozaru. So you got the fur, you got the crazy hair, and the high power level. So, big fan of the design. Obviously, that's why I had to get the figure. Now, let's have a look at it. Size of the Prince of all Saiyans. He stands at about 12.5 centimeters to the top of the head. If you're going to the top of the hair, that would be 15. And for your inches, we are going up to 5 inches, pretty much to the top of the head, and almost 6, well, it's pretty much 6, to the top of the hair. Size comparisons. Here's Jolter, Naka Michelangelo, the SH Figuarts Son Goku, Dragon Ball Superhero Vegeta, Super Saiyan 4 Son Goku, and Darkseid. Overall look and detail, it's pretty good. Honorable mention to the face sculpt. Just look at how clean this is. I'm so happy that they really nailing these. Again, I'm going back to that. I said it a million times in previous reviews. I feel like SH Figuarts, they always have been experimented at how they should do the faces, and if you do these lines in like a black or like a brown or whatever. But recently, they've just been killing it, and I love this one. So you also have the hair sculpt, which has a bunch of detail molded in it, very spiky, and there's also quite a decent amount of articulation points, actually more than I expected, but we'll have a look at that later. Let's look at these furry pecs. And one thing I gotta mention, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, the face is unpainted, the chest is painted, because from what I can tell, the chest is molded in the red fur, and then they painted over it. As such, you do have a difference in the color. As you can tell, it's also a little bit more glossy, and the head and neck area than the chest area. So unfortunately, that's something that really pops out more under the lighting and whatnot, so it's not that bad, I feel like, but it's still there. Also, you have a little bit of problems with the color kind of going over the line with these joints that just cover the articulation, the butterfly joints and whatnot. So that's another thing that's kind of unclean. However, I gotta give him props once more to actually have some molded fur also in the joints, which makes it look super duper clean, and I'm a big fan of that. Then we have a little bit more glossy gloves. Once again, that's like the painted parts. That's how you can see where it's painted, where it isn't painted, because like the entire body mold, the red, the face sculpt and whatnot, unpainted. Then you have the belt buckle in the pants. Now, looking at the pants, what happened here? Why is it standing out so much? Why are his thighs like just at this point so incredibly huge, and the crotch piece, like this part is just molded too big. You kind of need to scrape off this little bit on the side over here so it actually lines up. The way it is like that, like he has like bombastic thighs first and foremost, and it does stand out super duper weirdly. Let's have a look at the butt real quick. You have the entire butt mold, which once again is a little bit of an issue with the articulation. We'll get to that. And you do have the tail nice and curled. You only have like one tail. I'm just wondering about that, because you only have this pose. But that's a small detail going down to the boots, which are painted nicely enough. We have a little bit of yellow, and it's just like a light purple. It's kind of like a weird color, but I mean, it's accurate. You have this kind of GT look, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I obviously would prefer the regular Vegeta in the spandex, but I guess we're getting the pants. So, for articulation, starting off with the hat, you can shift this one back and forth if it's cooperating right now. Oh, it's holding on to the hair. So you can shift this back and forth. It does tilt side to side, and it would go all the way around, but you have to be careful with the hair. You also have the neck, so you can bring that forward, and does go to the back. I feel like decent enough. Obviously, the hair is in the way. The side skirts are, from what I can tell, just on ball joints, so you can bring that out and up and down. In the back, you have 2 ball hinges for both sides over here, so you can swing that around a little bit. Have obviously limited range because of how much the hair is in the way, but still it does go up quite nicely, and then you can pull it down. Yeah, for a cleaner look. Then for your shoulder articulation, you can rotate this all the way around, bring it forward, bring it to the back, and once again shift it a little bit up and down. Then you have the big hinge in the shoulder itself, and you also have more rotation in that part. Then you have the bicep swivel, double hinged elbow, this is all standard, and the ball hinge in the fist, so you can bring that up and down and also swivel it as, what is detaching again? Stuff is detaching. Something I only just recently noticed, but I feel like, yeah, the torso part is soft plastic. So that's kind of weird. I don't know what that really accomplishes, but you can bring the chest back and forth quite nicely, and also holding on to the torso, you can also tilt it side to side. Lower half for the hip part is also quite nimble. I think that's where the soft plastic torso really comes in for the articulation, so you can bring that back and forth. Does tilt side to side. His hips do not lie, and also goes pretty much all the way around. You also do have the tail on a ball hinge, so you can bring that up and down, and also can be swiveled around, no problem there. Foot, well, the leg goes up, goes out to the side, and does not go to the back because of the butt, which we talked about earlier. You can also swivel this part around, which works quite nicely, but doesn't look that great. Double hinged knees, same thing. Like, I really wish they would have smoothed this out. This kind of lump sticking out is just weird. Have talked about this many times before. And then we have the ball hinge, and the foot goes up and down, and has a very nice pivot, and also a toe hinge. For the accessories, you're getting the absolute basics, but the hair, the face sculpts actually look amazing. Have like the angry yelling face. If my camera would focus on it, thank you, and the smirk on the side, which are amazing. Do have a little bit of trouble with the hair. You can tell, like, the way it's painted over there, it makes this weird line, which I don't know what's going on. Then we have the angry gritting T-face, just as impressive as the rest of them. Have a small energy effect, which, I mean, it does the job. Has a hole in the lower half, because we have some hands for it, which I'm a big fan of, so we don't get lost with the energy effect. You actually can display them without having to fumble around. And for the hands, you have like this flat blasting hand. You have these kind of posing also, or blasting hands. We have these booby grab hands, or also just like grabbing hands, and more like kind of flat booby grab hands, or more blasting hands. There's like, he's either grabbing or blasting. Final thoughts for the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. I don't really have any huge problems with it. Of course, the figure is not perfect. The color differences between the head and the chest area are one thing. I think articulation works well for the most part. It's fairly standard, but it's also pretty solid. I mean, I just had like Super Saiyan 4 Goku handled that one. I remember how weak his ankles were. This guy, I don't have any trouble posing him. And when it comes to the accessories, he's fairly light, but you know, you got like the standard stuff you're kind of expecting. And that's kind of how I want to wrap this up. It's kind of what to expect. It's not the greatest ever, could use some shading. I didn't really talk about the shading in the pants, but I really would have loved to have some shading in the fur, but you know, they're not really doing that. So at that point, I'm just kind of like, sure, whatever. Still, I think the figure looks good, articulates well, and has the accessories you kind of need. And that's really it. I do recommend them for Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta fans and everybody who's a fan of the design. I think it's a good release. It's not the best, but it works. It does the job. So that's gonna do it, guys. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever Vegeta wants.